Hi, everybody. My name is Kenny Matuszewski, and I am the current Public Service Manager of the YLS, and I'm happy today to be moderating the Intro to the YLS panel. So specifically today, we're going to talk about ways that you can get involved with the YLS as a law student or as a junior associate, why it's important, and just some of the benefits of it. It's something that I started off doing when I was only a first or second year associate, like many of you maybe. And that's something that getting involved early on has been nothing but beneficial to my career, and it indirectly even led me to the firm I'm at right now. So with that quick background, I also work at Neil Gerber Eisenberg, where I do patent prosecution and some patent litigation. So we are going to briefly introduce our other panels to start. So I will do it in order of everybody on my screen. So Natalie, I'll leave it to you.
Sure, thanks, Kenny. Hi, my name is Natalie Chan. I'm an associate at Sidley Austin here in Chicago. I'm in our litigation group in our employment and labor practice, so I focus on employment and labor work. I'm also rounding out my 6th year at the firm, starting my 7th year, which sounds pretty old to me, and I was around at Sidley since I was a summer associate. I think we're supposed to talk a little bit about our YLS involvement.
Sure.
I got involved with the Chicago Bar Association and Young Lawyers section pretty early on as a first or second year associate. And I actually started out with the CBA Record, which is the magazine for the Chicago Bar Association, and then transitioned into being the co-editor-in-chief of the YLS Journal, which is a portion of the CBA Record. And that was my primary involvement as an officer.
All right, so Brittany, now I'll turn it to you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kenny, for moderating this panel. My name is Brittany Kaplan. I am a first-year associate at K&L Gates. I focus my practice on trademarks and copyright. I have been at K&L Gates since I was a summer associate. I clerked there through my 2L and 3L year. I got involved with the YLS through a partner at K&L Gates, Alexis Crawford Douglas. She also focuses her practice on trademarks and copyrights. I know that the YLS was looking for a legislative liaison for their creative arts committee, and I jumped in and said, why not? Wasn't sure what I was doing, but it was a really fun opportunity, an exciting opportunity to network with a bunch of people and to put together really exciting panel discussions on a monthly basis. Right now, I am the co-chair for the Intellectual Property Committee at the YLS.
All right, so Matt, you're up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Matt Passon. I have my own firm, Passon & Powell, where I do plaintiff's personal injury and medical negligence work. I started out my career, I'm an 06 law grad, and started out my career at Jenner & Block, summer associate, and then as an associate for a few years in their commercial litigation group. And since then have had this plaintiff's injury practice. I began with the YLS many years ago, but a few years into my practice, and kind of took on various roles, including as an editor of the YLS Journal, including different project roles, and then eventually became chair of the Young Lawyers section. That was a few years ago. That's about it.
All right, and Tracy, last but not least.
Hi, everybody. I am Tracy Braumeier. I'm an associate at Clifford Law Offices in Chicago, which is also a plaintiff's personal injury firm, where we do all kinds of injury work, but my practice is really focused on catastrophic and complex cases, and especially transportation sector cases. And I have been here, I started as a law clerk my first year of law school, and graduated in 2014 and became an associate attorney. And I got involved with the Young Lawyers section of the CBA right after I took the bar exam, and jumped right in as a special project coordinator. And currently I am the first vice chair and will soon ascend to the throne.
All right, so Tracy, with that in mind, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what exactly the YLS is and what its mission is?
So the Young Lawyers section of the Chicago Bar Association is for lawyers who've been practicing for 10 years or less. There's no actual age requirement. We are all young at heart. It's really a good place for young lawyers to be able to be involved in a meaningful way with the Chicago Bar Association, and also to interact with their contemporaries, in addition to having access to the quote unquote big bar, which is the overall Chicago Bar Association. We do a lot of, we have our substantive committees that put on continuing education seminars and do other work as they see relevant and fit for their particular practice area or committee focus. And we also have a lot of special projects that we work on with regard to bar service and also overreaching public service. We have over, in any given year, it depends, but over 8,000 or 9,000 members. We are, I think, the largest young lawyers section of any bar association in the country. And we consistently win American Bar Association awards for young lawyers sections, including last year, the high awards for bar service diversity, our newsletter, and the overall best for our public service work.
Not to be modest, but we swept every category.
We did.
But yeah, so that's something that clearly there's a tradition of excellence. There's just clearly several different ways of getting just involved, even from the smallest level of attending a meeting or helping plan projects, panels, or even even like casino night last year. So what we've done is just found different ways of doing so. And we've had law students help us all the way up to people that are in their 9th or 10th year of practice. So all of us got started early on in our careers, whether as law clerks or as first or second years. So why is it important to get started at the beginning of your career rather than just kind of putting your nose down and then kind of resurfacing after 5 or 6 years? So if anybody wants to start with that, feel free to go ahead.
I'll start. That's okay. I think it's a really great networking opportunity. You get to meet a lot of really dynamic and smart and interesting attorneys from a wide array of practices. You never know, where the next collaboration could come, right? Like Kenny, you and I have worked together in other capacities, and so you never know what's going to happen. So it's a great networking opportunity, number one. Number two, I think, I was a little bit shy of a presenter, of a speaker, and I was given opportunities to present at panel discussions, to be a moderator. So there was a lot of opportunities to have ownership in material that I was presenting and coordinating discussions with really interesting attorneys. Kenny and I worked on a panel discussion for copyright infringement for music. And we had several music lawyers who were very attuned to the case law that was going on, that we were able to work together to create something really interesting. It was quite a successful panel. We had like 20 people show up. So the networking opportunities, the opportunities to take ownership of work, to present, are all really positive parts of the YLS.
The full disclosure, that was back when in-person was still a thing. And also, we'd had several seasoned lawyers. So it's not just we're presenting to other young lawyers. Like, you have the chance to be presenting or engaging with people who are very much experienced into their careers that want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and I think getting involved with the YLS early on is a great way to establish and cement your position in not only your practice area, but also in the Chicago legal community as a leader in your practice and a leader among your peers. The networking opportunities are obvious in terms of being able to generate business for yourself and for your law firm. But also you are establishing yourself as a leader in the eyes of your own firm. And that's something that actually, 2 of the partners that I work for are past presidents of the Chicago Bar Association. And so when I first took the bar exam, they told me, you need to get involved with the CBA. It's really important from their perspective and for my success. And I would have to say that so far, I completely agree with them. People get to recognize you for your involvement with the program overall, and certainly if you're involved with a substantive committee, they recognize you as the leader in that practice area among your peers, as well as the judges, and as Kenny was referencing, the other seasoned practitioners that you end up interacting with on those committees, seeing you as somebody that's kind of an up and comer in your area.
I'll add on to that because I completely agree with both Brittany and Tracy. I'll give a little bit of a different spin to it because when I joined the YLS, I did not know anybody at my firm who was really involved with the CBA. And I think that's a familiar refrain for a lot of large law firm lawyers, like, I don't know, everybody's just billing all the time. I don't really see people out and about in the community, or what's the advantage of being a part of a large bar association and spending all of my time doing that when I can barely get by doing what I'm doing day to day here. So I'll say that I think the relationship building part of it is spot on, and I'll put a spin on it. If you want to stay at a firm and eventually have clients, you're going to need to be very comfortable with networking and relationship building. Why not get out those kinks while you can? Test it on your peers who probably won't judge you as hard. Learn how to navigate a social event with contemporaries before you get to a place where you actually have to sit at a Blackhawks game with a client and figure out how to make small talk. So that's one way in which the relationship building aspect and networking can help be facilitated in this environment. I totally agree with the leadership skills aspect that Tracy mentioned. In addition to your firm seeing you as a leader in the community, you can take the skills that you build, even learning how to successfully put together a panel like this, and bring it into your firm and demonstrate that I can organize a successful event. I know how the flow should go. Also, learning how to be on committees. I sit on probably 4 different committees at our firm, and I can tell you that those skills, I started honing and flexing those muscles through community and bar association events at an early stage, and it definitely helped with that. And then the last piece is time management. If you think you're busy now, it will only get worse, in my experience, right? Like, things just keep getting busier and busier. It doesn't, in my experience, it doesn't get better. So you actually have more time at a junior stage to get involved and find out where your passions lie and start planting seeds and building relationships and exploring. And it's a good way of learning how to manage your time. If you really care about something else down the road, learning how to say, well, no, tonight's the night that I'm going to this CBA event, and putting that stake in the ground can be a really beneficial skill set to build starting now.
Yeah, and to set that expectation for yourself too at your law firm, that you are committing a certain amount of time to your professional associations and activities. I think if you set that expectation early on and make your firm understand why it's important, then it's something that they'll respect. And and then it's easier for you to get out of the office to participate in that type of activity. Yeah.
And I'll just add that, just to add that it's a lot easier to get involved with the CBA as a young lawyer. So within your first 10 years of practice, than it is to say, all right, now I'm 11 years out and I'm going to start getting involved in the CBA. That's a lot harder. The young lawyer section has, 50 plus leadership positions for quote unquote young lawyers that you can take advantage of, and for all the reasons that the other panelists have mentioned. So that's another reason why you should consider getting involved at an earlier rather than later stage in your career.
So one other thing I want to just kind of point out is that in addition with timing, with being a junior as being the best time, I also like to think that while COVID has made things more challenging, I would actually say that now is probably the best time to get involved, because we do have a different variety of projects. And if, say, for example, you work in the suburbs or you're from out of state and you want to find a job in the Chicago legal community and you don't really know anybody else, now's the perfect time to get going with this because you're able to meet people that way. Everything's going to be virtual for the next few months. So with regard to timing, like sometimes timing isn't just necessarily where you are in your career, but it's also just with happenstance. So it's great to take advantage of that. So with this in mind, we talked about some of the leadership benefits, just the networking, and I kind of wanted to ask all of you, so what were some ways that, I know Brittany, you had mentioned having a bit more confidence with speaking, everything, so, and Natalie with your ability to run committees. So Tracy and Matt, I wanted to ask you, like, what are some like great intangibles that you've developed throughout your career by being part of the YLS?
There's really a couple. I mean, I think one of them that we haven't mentioned yet is friendships. I've made some really great friends through the CBA that I really value for multiple reasons. I mean, aside from just having new friends, it's really nice to have lawyer friends who are not in your practice area or at your law firm. I think it's nice to be able to talk to somebody and say, oh, I was really stressed out today about this deposition or whatever it is, and have them understand what you mean without being involved. It's kind of a nice like middle ground for friendships. But also, I guess something else that I was thinking about while Natalie was talking in terms of transferable skill sets, I can give you an example. Just before this, I came off of a Rule 26 meet and confer on a case with some partners at some big law firms in Chicago that I was leading. And, I did all the logistical work of arranging it. I led the meet and confer itself. I'm leading the follow-up activity. And that is something that I attribute my confidence to do all of that, especially kind of up against partners at a big firm, to some of the work that I've done with the YLS in terms of leading meetings and organizing projects and interacting with, when I was organizing projects as a special project coordinator, I would have to call judges and ask judges to participate in my projects. And you get comfortable speaking to people and asserting yourself professionally. For me, it was something that I appreciate being comfortable with now.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the friendships, the confidence through taking on these leadership opportunities, and the credibility really that you develop if you decide that this is an organization that you enjoy, you like the people, you find your place, you see either public service opportunities or legal, committee work. There's different ways to get really involved, and if you find that you enjoy it, you will find that you will become a recognized leader in the community. And yeah, you go, if you're a litigator, you go to court, judges are going to know who you are because they're going to see your name's going to pop up in the law bulletin or, circulated to the wider community for the programs that you're involved in. And so over time, it's not an immediate thing. It's not like a year one. It's a long game. You're slowly developing your credibility and leadership in the community.
Yeah, so these are all great things. So one other thing that I do want to bring to everybody's attention is that not only are there these indirect ways of really getting involved, the CBA also does have a leadership academy. So that's usually more if you're a mid-level to more senior associate, but it does offer some of those same skills. A partner in my firm actually went through it a couple years ago, and she had said it really helped. So there's that opportunity that's available. So if you have that amount of experience, that's something that the applications are going to be opening up next fall, where they'll teach you business development, lead, and some of the more intangibles of leadership as well. So I just wanted to bring that up for everybody. So getting to some of the more specifics. Now, there's some general ways to get involved, such as, you so you can sign up for a committee right then and there. So you can sign up, I think, for 3 to 4 different YLS committees and just even attend all the social events, for example. But Tracy, what are some ways that, say, for example, if someone, say, wanted to help lead a project or do everything, how would they get involved with that?
Well, we have every year we kind of have a call to all of our members to be considered for committee leadership positions and also project-related positions and other leadership in our organization. I think the call is usually in February. So I think in terms of getting involved right now and maybe finding out where you fit, the best way to get involved is to sign up for committees not only that you practice in, but that maybe intersect with your practice area or that you're interested in learning more about. And that will not only benefit your own knowledge base, but it will also benefit you in meeting other people who are involved in those areas. We also have a lot of kind of special events or projects that you can participate in. If you're interested in public service, we have plenty of public service projects, and we're developing more right now. We have social events that you can participate in, both more formalized fundraiser type events. Kenny mentioned Casino Night was a popular one in the past. We're kind of formulating new ones. But we also have some more kind of informal social events that are put on pretty regularly to attend as well and meet new people. And then I think it's also a good way to kind of branch out into some of the larger Chicago Bar Association events as well. So you go to the Chicago Bar Association virtual meeting, for example, or to the I think it's called the open house or something, where you meet the new Chicago Bar president and the new chair of the YLS this year. That's Jeff Moskowitz, and kind of mix and mingle with people both in the big bar and in the YLS. So there's a ton of different opportunities to get involved.
All right, so thanks for that. So Natalie, earlier you mentioned that you were helped out with the record and then became one of the co-editors and chief of the CBA record. So can you tell our audience today a little bit about what it's like to write for the record and how to really get involved with that?
So if you're a member of the Chicago Bar Association, you've likely received copies of the CBA record, which is our flagship publication. And I got involved actually, I had externed for Justice Michael Hyman, who's now in the Illinois Appellate Court, when I was, after my 1L year, and he was the editor-in-chief of the CBA record, and I believe he still is to this day the editor-in-chief. So we collect articles, we get submissions from the Chicago community, sometimes beyond the Chicago community, but usually it's local. And the articles featured are on a range of topics, op-ed pieces, topics on current events, cases, recent developments, really anything that could be of interest to the Chicago legal community. In addition, I eventually became the co-editor-in-chief of the YLS Journal, which is the specific section of the magazine dedicated to young lawyers' topics. And again, there can be a range of submissions that we receive. Articles, usually for the young lawyers section, we're looking for shorter submissions, between 1,200 and 1,500 words. The broader publication has longer article lengths, and it can be on anything. You know, I think we got one year how to navigate walking around the Daily Center, which was interesting and funny. We've received articles about what it's like doing pro bono work and the value that young lawyers find and derive in doing pro bono work. So if you're interested in writing and possibly getting published, you should certainly look for opportunities to submit articles to the editors for the publication. And it's a great way of showcasing some of your work, some of your writing, and also get your name out there in the community. It's pretty easy to get involved that way. And it's also, if you're interested in editing as well, it's a great community and network of people involved in that.
Yep, I can attest to that. I actually published an article in the record a few months ago, and it was something that my firm really liked. They enjoyed reading the article. They had a little press release about it. So it's something that they places generally like to see. They like to see associates writing and getting involved. Now, the thing about the record too is that you don't need like as many blue book citations, so it's a little bit less formal than, say, a law review article. But there's also another way too, that this is something I was personally involved with. So the CBA also has a blog. It's called the At the Bar blog, and it's in its third year of publication. So for the first 2 years, I was one of the editors in chief of it. And one thing that we strive for the blog is that we have a bit more immediate content, and we generally look for pieces that relate to, say, lifestyle as a Chicago lawyer. We profile judges, past winners of the Daily Law Bulletins, 40 Under 40, have substantive practice area pieces. And the good thing about it is that we generally require only 500 to 800 words. And getting involved through a blog is a good, shorter way of just having your name out there, having it be online. So when someone Googles you, they see, oh, this person wrote a blog. I can just click on this link right here. But it's also, there's different ways to get involved. You can contribute an article on a one-time basis. We have a steering committee that they're required to turn in one article per month. And we've had some people write some really great articles that have gone viral. One of our current editor-in-chief, Laura, she wrote an article about JB's executive order, and that's now by far the most read article on the blog. So if you have interesting ideas, hot topics, or just want to talk about something in the community, you can also write for the blog. So Matt, now you've also mentioned that through your involvement with the CBA, that there's also the Chicago Bar Foundation and the Justice Entrepreneurs Project. So can you tell us a little bit more about these organizations?
Sure. So through my involvement with the YLS, as I got a little bit more involved, we would periodically hear about the Chicago Bar Foundation, and it turns out that the Chicago Bar Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the CBA, it supports pro bono work and legal aid, nonprofit legal work for, their mission is equal access to justice. So there's all kinds of programming and that supports those goals through the Chicago Bar Foundation. They partner with basically every large and mid-sized law firm, and there's an Investing in Justice campaign where law firms once every year try to raise money. 100% of that money goes to the legal aid organizations in order to provide free or close to free legal services for people who need it. Anyways, through the YLS, I learned that other people that were involved in the YLS were also involved in the Young Professionals Board of the Chicago Bar Foundation. Said, oh, that's interesting. So I was able to join that board, and that got me more plugged into what the Bar Foundation is doing in a whole separate group of other attorneys supporting those goals. So that's something else that was kind of something else for you to consider and look into is the Bar Foundation, and I believe I don't know if they're as stringent on their criteria first 10 years in practice, but it's something like that for the Young Professionals Board. About, 4 or 5 years ago now, the Bar Foundation, through a grant that they received, created something called the JEP, or the Justice Entrepreneurship Project, where they gave a stipend to a small group of attorneys, relatively new attorneys, usually in their first 5 years of practice, who have decided that they want to service the community that is a huge community that earns too much money to qualify for legal aid, but not enough money to be paying market rates to attorneys, and have a whole host of legal problems. And so the attorneys who are dedicated to kind of serving that community will undergo this year-long, or I think it might be like 15-month training program, and it's a great organization. I encourage you guys to look it up, JEP, It's under the Chicago Bar Foundation. And I thought it was a great project. And over the years, I've gotten more involved, and now I'm on their board, kind of supporting that program. So all of that stemmed from my initial involvement in the YLS.
Yeah, so one opportunity to get involved with the CBF is that every October we have a pro bono fair. So where the CBF and the YLS come together to have all the legal aid organizations of Chicago. Usually it would be in person at a firm such as Skadden or Kirkland, have tables to talk to law students or practicing attorneys about getting involved with the various organizations. So we always are looking for volunteers to help us with setup, to help us figure out certain things. This year we're going to be having it as more of a virtual meeting. We're working on a way to figure that out. If you're interested in helping that, feel free to let me or Jennifer Byrne know as well. And finally, the last really specific interest I know that can really help benefit the public that the YLS and the CBA offers is the Chicago Women's Working Summit. So Brittany, I know you were involved with this for the past couple years. So can you tell us a little bit more about it and the mission and ways to get involved?
Sure. So the summit is basically a half-day event that happens around International Women's Day, and it brings together the Chicago legal community to have women leaders discuss topics that affect women in the legal profession, that being, gender bias, how to maximize your worth, how do you balance motherhood and having a legal career. So a lot of different topics that sort of help to inspire women, to give women ideas to be successful. It's a really positive day. I find that when I go there, I feel really motivated and inspired to sort of pull myself up and to do really positive things. So I really find that being with other women who are lawyers in the profession and generating ideas are really beneficial, a way to collaborate. So if you're interested, I'm happy to share more information or